when things are going well and we're not really being challenged, we tend to get lazy and we fuck off and we don't think about those things that we kind of slack off on. It's when things are getting challenging that we get creative and we figure out a way to make things work. Hey guys, I thought I'd do a really quick update because just as soon as I posted Monday's video, there was a press release from Guitar Center, and I think it'll answer a lot of questions. And I got this from the Retail Dive, and their source was the official press release. So let's get on into it. Summary, Guitar Center plans to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and be out of bankruptcy by the end of the year, the retailer said in the press release. The filing is a part of restructuring agreement with key stakeholders, including its private equity owners and supermajorities of bondholder groups. The deal would cut $800 million in debt from Guitar Center's books. So they're going to shed off $800 million in bad debt. And they're going to add $375 million new liquidity, meaning cash on hand. Once it files, the company expects business and payments to vendors to continue uninterrupted. The retailer said it is pleased with its store footprint, but has hired advisors to evaluate its real estate portfolio for possible closures. Now, what that means is they're fine with how things are right now, but they are going to hire advisors to see if they need to consolidate or close anything. But considering how Guitar Center operates, they don't have a whole bunch of big warehouses. If you order something and they don't have it in the fulfillment center, they might pull it straight from a Guitar Center shelf and send it to you straight from one of their stores. So all 297 locations are very important to the actual business model because, you think of it. Sweetwater, Sam Ash, and, a lot of these others, they're all mostly online. Yes, you might be able to go into a physical location if you're lucky enough to live near one or travel there, but for most of us that have to go to our local Guitar Center or hope that we have a mom and pop nearby, that's what we got. In its press release, Guitar Center outlined a relatively quick trip through bankruptcy that would allow it to shed off debts left over from multiple private equity buyouts and give it much needed liquidity. So they're shedding off bad debt and adding on some cash in the bank so that they have some money to operate, and also to prepare for I hate to say the unexpected because 2020 was the unexpected all year long. Let's just face it. According to Guitar Center, it already has the creditor support for its restructuring plan that it would need to pass in the bankruptcy process. It also has $375 million in debtor-in-possession financing lined up to fund it through Chapter 11, which is, of course, the money they're going to need after bankruptcy to operate. And they plan to raise $335 million in new senior secured notes that would give Guitar Center an additional liquidity, i.e. cash. So they're even looking to get an extra $335 million, and I'm assuming that it's because they already know about, what's going on in Europe. They already know about what's going on in Newark, New Jersey, them talking about shutting down again. And of course, Chicago talking about shutting down. And of course, Walmart's talking about limiting occupancy again. So that will be fun for all of you who shop at Walmart. I live in freaking Walmart nation. Okay, so a few things to remember. Just like when you file a personal bankruptcy, it stops collections. It stops lawsuits. So I was listening to one of Phillip McKnight's recent videos, and this is just kind of reinforcing reinforce why he's saying, Gibson, Fender, all of them, they're not going to be able to go in there and just take shit off the shelves, okay? It would be against their best interest to do so anyway, even if it wasn't just the fact that by law they wouldn't be able to do it. Because here's the thing, Guitar Center is going to be running sales, big sales, to get stuff off the books. So in order for folks like Fender and Gibson to get paid, shit needs to get sold, okay? I mean, let's just be for real. Shit needs to get sold. Basically what this is get rid of bad debt. It's just like, when you got stupid when you were young and took out a whole bunch of debt and the job didn't quite pay for it all. When you have a more preferred type of bond, it's going to have a lower interest rate. Just like when you have good credit, you're going to get a lower rate of interest. So these bonds are going to be a lot more attractive to the average investor. Not only will big funds and banks be buying them, but just regular everyday investors like you and I. They're a lot more attractive investment instruments because they're not as high risk. They're not expected to be defaulted on. So they are going to be well funded. It does sound like they're preparing for a second wave, so to speak. And I'm sure their advisors have kind of looked at the road ahead and looked at the market in general and habits and such. Because let's face it, there are things that they can do different, like lessons. A lot of people can learn online these days. And even if you go to somebody who knows how to play, they're not going to be charging you what Guitar Center will charge. It probably makes more sense to, let's say, instead of selling lessons, rent out space for like rehearsals or for making media. There might be some way of using that studio space that's a lot more productive. You could see other types of services come, some that maybe cost still more than it's worth, go away. But like one person that asked about their job, I wouldn't worry about it right now unless they seriously started talking about closing any locations, because according to the press release, they're pleased with how things are right now as far as real estate. The real estate, if they own some of those locations, guess what? That's an asset. Let's say they own a commercial building for $500 million. That's just going to absorb that $125 million that's left over. Pretty much got it covered. I wouldn't expect a whole lot to change, except for to see a lot of sales coming up. What could actually change things over the coming years would be what's going on with the pandemic right now and how that's going to affect a lot of things moving forward into the future, because a lot of companies are kind of still trying to figure out how to stay afloat in uncertain times. The rest of us, we're going to rock on and we're going to move on with our lives one way or the other. So everybody that's in business, they're going to look for ways to survive. I'll just put it that way. And, if you're watching and you got a business and you're just trying to figure out how to stay afloat right now, we all have to get creative. We all have to look for that end that keeps us in the games. Keep trucking forward. It's it sucks what's happened this year, but me personally, I think a lot of good can come from it, because when things are going well and we're not really being challenged, we tend to get lazy and we fuck off and we don't think about those things that we kind of slack off on. It's when things are getting challenging that we get creative and we figure out a way to make things work. I hope something I said tonight kind of helped somebody. If it did, just hit the subscribe button and like and share with a friend. And hey, I'll keep the videos coming if I can. Y'all have a good night.